Sister Taylor.
So how was school today? Well, I have to say it's really good that you're actually saying prayer while you're at school at lunch. That shows me that you have your own relationship with Jehovah and that you're taking the initiative, because Dad and I are there to make you say your prayers. So that's really good. So I say for 6 years old, that's not bad. But I can definitely relate to how you're feeling, because I know even as a grown-up, sometimes at work, if I'm sitting with everybody and I have to bow my head to say the prayer, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable because it's hard to be different than everybody else. And even though it was a long time ago, when I was in school, when it was Christmas or birthdays, or even when you don't salute the flag, sometimes it can be uncomfortable because you're different than everybody. And you might feel like, oh, I have all these, restrictions. Do you know what the word restrictions means?
Stuff you can't do.
Right, stuff you can't do. So today, though, nobody is totally free of restrictions. Like, even grown-ups have restrictions or things that we can't do. Like, say I was to say to you, I'm going to jump off a really high building. What might happen?
You get really hurt.
Right. Or what if I was to decide to run across the highway into busy traffic? What might happen?
The same thing.
Right, so you get hurt. So those are restrictions. But those restrictions, they keep us safe. The same way in certain areas of our life, you might view things as restrictions, but they actually keep us safe. You might ask, how? Yeah. So by being obedient to Jehovah, that keeps us safe in a lot of areas of our life because of the moral life that we lead that keeps us protected. And it also shows Jehovah that we want to worship Jehovah alone. Do you know what that word worship means?
Like love and doing the things he wants.
Exactly. So actually, what I'm going to do? I'm going to read you a scripture. And then after I read the scripture, you tell me what you think, okay? It's found in Romans chapter 6, verse 16 and 17. Pay careful attention, okay? It says, do you not know that if you keep presenting yourselves to anyone as slaves to obey him, you are slaves of him, because you obey him either of sin with death in you, or of obedience with righteousness in you. But thanks to God that you were the slaves of sin, but you became obedient from the heart to that form of teaching to which you were handed over. Okay, so what do you think of that scripture?
I like that.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. So what the scripture here is talking about is about being a slave. So obviously nobody wants to be a slave to anybody. It's obviously very unpleasant. But what it's saying is that today people are easily influenced by what other people do. Sometimes somebody will do something just because somebody else is doing it.
Yeah, that happens a lot in school. People do something just because other people do it.
Right. And that's what Paul was basically saying here. In that part of the scripture, again, it says, you are slaves of him because you obey him, either of sin with death in you or of obedience with righteousness in you. So depending on what choices we make will show who we're being a slave to. So sometimes we do things because other people want us to. That would make us a slave to them. So we would do well to ask ourselves, who am I a slave to? Who influences my decisions? Is it my friends or is it Jehovah?
Well, I want to take Jehovah.
Right. But that's not always easy, right? So what are some ways do you think that we could draw closer to Jehovah? Or ways to make us love him more so that we would choose Jehovah over our friends?
For more study and meeting and service.
Yeah, and what's one more way?
Prayer.
Right, and that's something that you've been doing. So you're doing all those things, and you're to be commended for that. That's really good. Maybe what we can do today is go over some examples of people in the Bible who have chosen Jehovah over their friends. Sometimes when you read other people's experiences, it can help you to deal with everyday things in life. Want to do that?
That's over. Oh, man. Well, it goes without saying this is what definitely Sister Ariel Thomas, first part on the Big Red Ministry School. So from the applause, and thank you very much for that nice job that you did for us. Come on. How do you feel? Good, good. You ought to be proud. And I'm sure your parents are proud as well. Okay, great. So now we're going to just turn our attention to Sister Taylor. So really nice job with that information there. One of the things that I we all appreciate about the way that you deliver that information, and of course in the setting you're explaining the scriptures to your daughter in regards to her feelings on this particular matter, and something that we want to do not only with our if we're parents and we have our children at home when we're educating them in a spiritual way, but also what we just bring with us in the ministry when we have Bible students and so forth, is the key points that I noticed in your part that you did very well. First of all, you made good use of questions in a way to kind of draw her out, see how she felt about something, to understand what she knew about things, and also to really help her to reason about where you want to kind of lead her thinking to be. You use some simple reasoning, so you didn't use anything too complex. Obviously, you're talking to your daughter, so with our children, we want to be kind of simple and making the truth available to them. And you also commended her for what she was also doing well. So those are all things that we want to do with our Bible students. And the point that was made here in the BE book, point number 30, on page 168, is what she was working on, showing interest in the other person. So of course it's easy in this setting when we're talking to our children, obviously we want to show that kind of interest. But I just want to highlight just the couple of boxes here that mentioned. They say, well, first of all, what you need to do in order to show interest to others, give evidence that you care about their thoughts, the thoughts of other people, and are concerned about their welfare. So that's what we want to always do with those that we speak to in the ministry, our Bible students and so forth. It's important because this is one way we imitate the love Jehovah shown to us, and it may enable us to reach the hearts of others. So how to show genuine interest? There's one point that you did all of these points in your talk. It says, listen when the other person speaks. Thank them for expressing his or her thoughts and feelings, and then ask questions in order to understand the thinking more clearly. So the talk embodied all of those speaking points in your talk there. So we want to thank you again, Sister Taylor, and Sister Taylor, again, for that nice presentation for us. So now we're going to get to the finish.